Hello my sweet friends and welcome to DIY with Nadia. I'm lucky enough to have my security with me today. Why don't you say hi to everyone? Hi guys, this is Louie and in today's video we are going to do something super beautiful. We are going to use shelf liners and we are going to make an egg wreath. On top of that, we're also going to use some beautiful decorative mesh, and that's going to make for a colorful wreath. Let's go over the supplies that we're going to use for our Dollar Tree shelf liner wreath. We're going to be using 6 rolls of this shelf liner, and it does come in a few other colors, a beige and a black, and it is 12 inches in width, 60 inches in length, or 30 centimeters by 152. I will also be using decorative mesh, and this is the one that has little snow scattered on it. The ones that are sold at the Dollar Tree, you usually get 3 yards per roll, and these are 6 inches in width. That's exactly what we're going to need. For this type of wreath, this is going to be a great way to get rid of some of the ones that you have left over to finish up the rolls. And you can either use one color for the whole wreath or be adventurous like me and use different types of colors. I will also be using some zip ties. You can use 4-inch ones. I like to use these 6-inch ones. You can find these in my Amazon shop and in the description box below. And no, I do not recommend using pipe cleaners. Zip ties are going to be your best option to work with the shelf liners. For the wreath base, I'm going to be using this egg-shaped metal wreath form. For wreath decor, I'm going to be using this sweet little fuzzy bunny. Now these you would have to go to the plus section of the Dollar Tree to get, and they are $3. I decided to replace the bunny's bow, and I'm going to be using this 3/8 of an inch off-ray ribbon, and it's white with iridescent edging. Starting with the shelf liner roll, I'm going to be cutting it in half. As you can see, it's 12 inches. I'm going to go down the center, use scissors, and cut it in half. These Dollar Tree ones are not that hard to cut with scissors. And look at the cut, nice and smooth. There's no fraying, and you have 2 even pieces. Then I'm going to take one roll, and basically we're going to fold it in half. I'm going to cut it, then I'm going to cut it in half once more. And now you should have 18-inch pieces. They should fold into a 3-piece, 6 inches and 6 inches. As you can see, right in the square. And then I'm going to cut from this side and cut from that side. I'm grabbing the other piece, folding it neatly in half, cutting right along the edge. Now you should have an 18-inch piece that you will fold into 6-inch pieces. From one half, I have 12 pieces. Now I'm going to do the same thing. From each one of the rolls, you are going to end up having 24 of these pieces. So as I'm cutting this, I got bored using the scissors. So when you're down to the 6-inch pieces, it's super easy just to use a little roller cutter and cut it right down to the 6 inches. As I'm cutting my second roll, I realized that I am 3 inches short for the 18 inches. So when I looked on the actual paper here, apparently my first one was 12 by 72. That's why I was able to fold it into 3. And this one is 12 by 60. So if you're going to do 12 by 60, you're going to end up doing it in half and in half. So instead of 6 by 6, you're going to have 6 by 7.5. But since I already have the 6 inches cut up on my first one, I'm going to just go ahead and go slow and start cutting up all of these at 6 by 6 inches. I'm going to go ahead and actually just cut the 5 because I realized that the rolls that have 72, I just have a few more extra, and I have a few rolls at 72. I have 110 pieces of my shelf liner little squares, and now I'm going to bring in the decorative mesh, and I'm going to need 110 of the decorative mesh also. So it all depends how many squares of the shelf liner you have to how many decorative mesh you're going to need. These are 6 inches in width, so these are super easy just to cut into 6 by 6 inch little squares, just like this. Everything is cut up. I'm using 7 different colors of the decorative mesh, and then I have my shelf liner to the side. Next, I'm going to grab my egg wreath form, and I'm going to start attaching. At this time, I'm also bringing out my zip ties. So I'm going to grab my shelf liner and my little decorative mesh. I'm going to be attaching my shelf liner little bows on rows 2 and 3 of the wreath form, and I like to do this going in a zigzag pattern because that way it's just going to lay out nicely. My shelf liner square is at the bottom and the decorative mesh is on top, and I'm going to collect in the center a little bit in an accordion fashion. So just collect a little bit, collect. Grabbing my zip tie, I'm going to put it underneath the little row that I'm going under. In this case, it's going to be row 3, and attach. Before I zip tie all the way to the end, your little bow could have slipped to the left or to the right. Make sure you have the center before you make that final little tug. And then I'm going to put the little nub to the side. Grabbing my wire cutters, I'm just going to cut the tail. And that's pretty much it, my friends. I have my shelf liner, decorative mesh, accordion it in the center to make our little bow. Then our zip tie. This time it's going to go on row 2. I always count from inside out. Attach, but not all the way. Fold it in half like this to make sure you have that center, and tie it in place. Nub to the side and cut off the tail. Moving on to my blue one, zip tie on row 3. Make sure you have the center. The colors are coming out so beautifully, and it just looks like this pastel kind of just color transition going through. I am in love with this wreath so far. So I'm going to keep it pretty tight. I'm not going to do loosey-goosey. I have 110 of these, so I know I'm going to have more than enough to have a nice tight wreath. And now I'm just going to go ahead and continue adding the rest of these. I am so excited how beautiful this egg wreath came out. All the shelf liner and decorative mesh little bows are on here. And to me, it looks like a watercolor painting of an egg because it's just such a beautiful, smooth transition with the colors. I'm telling you guys, in person, it looks stunning. Okay, now that I've said that, I have to say something else. I did not take into consideration that the decorative mesh is really going to do its job as far as filling in the wreath. So guess what? I only used 4 rolls of the shelf liner, and this is what I have left. I can definitely do one of those 8-inch wreaths with one of these and have it full. So with that being said, just, I guess, start with 4 and see if you're going to need more, but look how compact everything is on the back of this wreath. I have 26 on these big ones, 14 on top, and 20 at the bottom. The moral of the story is, if you are going to copy this wreath and use the beautiful decorative mesh, definitely start with only 4 rolls of the shelf liner, and then if you need, you can definitely add. Let's get our bunny ready. Just going to cut this little ribbon off. I'm giving myself a generous amount of ribbon, tying it. And I'm just going to do a simple bow. Let me tie it twice so it stays in place. And now we're going to make a little simple bow, just like tying a shoelace. And the tails I want to keep nice and long, so I'm just going to cut little angles on the little tails and keep them long so they can just kind of lay on the bunny. Now I'm going to get some floral wire, and I'm going to cut 3 pieces. 2 pieces at about 12 inches. And one we're going to cut maybe like at 24 inches almost, because I want to have a lot of slack. Depending on how tough, you might be able to put it through the ears. And I'm putting it right in the center, just like this. I'm using a white one in hopes that it will be virtually impossible to see. Do a few twists where you know it's not going to be noticeable. Even now from the front, you can hardly tell. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. If your wire is not tough enough to do this, I would use an awl. Bring it to the back, then twist it. So my ears have the floral wires on them. And now I need to do the back. At the bottom, I'm going to attach right there in this little groove. So looking from the front, this groove is not going to be shown because this part is going to cover it. And since it's a little bit of a wide space, I'm going to use an awl to get me started. It went through the back, as you can tell. The wire at the bottom, I am not going to twist like I did on the ears because I want this part of the wire to go on one side and then this one on the other. This is going to be so gorgeous. The 2 ears are going to get attached to the intersections right here. And at the bottom, one of the floral wires is going to get attached on this intersection. The other one's going to get attached right there. And I'm just going to put it in and twist it to lock it in place. The bunny is all attached basically on all the intersections. And now I want to make a hanging loop. So I'm just going to grab that same ribbon and I'm going to find the center, cut off about 8 inches and make a few knots so we can have a hanging loop. That's it. My hanging loop is done. Now I'm just going to go around, make sure everything looks really nice. If you have some wire showing, make sure you have that tucked in. At the bottom, it looks good too. So it just looks like the bunny is floating, but it is connected, you guys. That is it for this beautiful shelf liner egg wreath. What did you guys think of this wreath? There's so many benefits of using shelf liner as a wreath. Longevity of the wreath is #1. I'm telling you, these wreaths will last and won't wrinkle, crinkle, or anything else. And #2, I only used 4 rolls of the shelf liner to make this particular wreath. So bonus there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and say hello to me in the comments below. Thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you in our next video. Bye, everyone. Say bye, everyone. Bye. Mwah. Bye, guys.